Hi, this is Margaret Maloney, and welcome to the Death Dhamma Podcast. In a series I used to read, occasionally one character would say to the other, "May you live in interesting times." It was understood that this was a curse, where interesting times meant chaos and difficulty. Well, we do live in interesting times. I mean, don't we always? So this season, together we will explore equanimity and chaos, recognizing that many aspects of life are beyond our control. Let's find a sense of balance and peace amid external chaos. Welcome. Today is our final episode describing the 10 types of equanimity. And it's our last full episode of Season 5 of the Death Dhamma Podcast also. Let's take a look at equanimity of jhāna and equanimity of purification. Okay, starting with equanimity of jhāna, which is described as a name for equanimity producing impartiality towards even the highest bliss. While equanimity develops in the third jhāna, equanimity is the predominant characteristic apparent in the fourth jhāna, with the abandoning of pleasure and pain, and with the previous disappearance of joy and grief. A monk enters upon and abides in the fourth jhāna. Thus, the fourth jhāna meditative state transcends feelings of pleasure and pain, or the emotions of joy and grief, and manifest as a completely impartial state of mind. Well, that sounds great. Perhaps it would be helpful to just step back for a minute and visit the term jhāna. The jhānas are naturally occurring states of mind, but learning how to enter them at will and how to stay in those states of mind take practice. Their principal use in Buddhist meditation is to generate ever increasing levels of concentration, so that later, when the meditative mind is turned to a practice that tends towards wisdom, it can do that with so much less distraction. The word jhāna comes from Pali and means meditative absorption. So these are deep, concentrated states where your attention becomes so stable and still that distractions fade into the background. Sounds amazing, right? Although, see, when I say that sounds amazing, I want to be very careful of not clinging to that, because then I'm not practicing equanimity. All right. The breath, or whatever you're focusing on, becomes your whole field of awareness. There's no struggle, no chasing, just stillness. Right? So joy and grief can be reframed as mental pleasure and mental pain. And that brings us, to the physical and mental aspects. By abandoning pleasure and by abandoning pain, then first terminating mental pleasure and mental pain, then that's when a monk can attain and dwell in that fourth jhāna, which is neither pain nor pleasure, but is that purity of mindfulness caused by equanimity. So here's a phrase which has neither pain nor pleasure and purity of mindfulness due to equanimity. So this is saying that, the predominant characteristics in the fourth jhāna are mindfulness and equanimity. And that's why I keep bringing you to the fourth jhāna. Here there is reference to the neither pain nor pleasure state. Again, the state of equanimity. When we talk about equanimity of purification, because that's what we're doing now, what we're referring to is the benefit of purification on the mind when we're in this state of equanimity. Buddhaghosa defines this as equanimity, purified of all opposition, and so consisting in uninterestedness in stilling opposition. In other words, like, we're not trying to stop anything from arising or falling. It's purified by means of the state of mindfulness, purified by equanimity. The outcome of a mind purified by equanimity is said to be, thus purified, bright, unblemished, rid of imperfection, malleable, wieldy, steady, and attained to imperturbability. I think that's the key there, because I feel like some of these sentences up into this feel repetitive. As I'm saying them to you, I feel like, Margaret, you're telling them the same thing over and over again, right? But basically, when we have equanimity, then it is a purifying factor for our mind state. And then that means that we are we have the ability to have that neutrality, that impartiality that we've been talking about. Now, how powerful is this? Well, let's consider the section of the sutta where the Buddha has achieved this state. And because he's in this state, he is able to reach the three knowledges. And these three knowledges are what helped him when he was sitting under the tree to reach enlightenment, and ultimately then to bring us these teachings from a place of his own compassion. But, so from this state, this mind state of mindfulness and equanimity, the Buddha came to know what we refer to as the three knowledges. The knowledge of the recollection of past lives, the passing away and reappearance of beings, and the destruction of the taints. So from these three knowledges, he became fully enlightened. So it appears from the suttas, from the literature in the Pali Canon, that mindfulness and equanimity are fundamental factors to our ability to reach enlightenment. And this explains why these faculties are specifically defined as enlightenment factors, right? And we did talk about equanimity as an enlightenment factor. And so when we've got mindfulness and equanimity, then we can do what the canon sometimes refers to as yoking the mind, disciplining, right? Reining it in, allowing equanimity to be present without distraction, right? And so we return to the importance of mindfulness, which has been with us, I want to say like every step of the way, maybe not overtly in every episode of the podcast, but in so many ways and so many episodes. And so please keep your mindfulness practice going, especially when it is difficult. And in reviewing these 10 types of equanimity and these teachings of Buddhaghosa over these last few episodes, it really illuminates the fact that there are these teachings and we want to read and understand them, but we really need the practice. This combination, these 10 types of equanimity really require us to spend time in our practice, in our meditation, and in the way in which we are active in the world. All of these things coming together. And so thank you again so much, and wishing you equanimity. And on a day where maybe you're not achieving equanimity, wishing you the mindfulness and the awareness to just see it and to just reset and try over again, because this is why it's called practice. You've been listening to the Death Dhamma Podcast with your host, Margaret Maloney. Thank you so much for being here. Come find me on margaretmaloney.com, margaretmeloni.com. And until we meet again, may you be well, may you be happy, may you be at ease, and may you be free from suffering. Bye for now.